Cliff, you've been to a lot of the places in the world. I think the number count is over 100. How did you come up with Papua New Guinea, though?
Papua New Guinea has been on my short list for a long time. It's, it's one of the most remote places in the world and one of the most untouched in culturally. And actually, we saw a National Geographic special, and it said that Papua New Guinea was the only place left in the world that still had cannibals, and that pretty much convinced me that that was where I needed to go.
Yeah, that was a big drawing item.
Yeah, cannibals.
You know, this is just a general question, but what's the attraction to you being a traveler in the third world?
With the world moving so quickly today, things in the third world are dynamic, and the tribes that you can find now and the animals that you can find now, your grandchildren will more than likely never see.
Yeah. When we were in Tari, we went to see the Huli men. I always thought that the way that they looked was really kind of unbelievable, with the way they painted their face and the wigs that they wore. What were your impressions of that?
I thought they were some of the most colorful people I've ever seen, and what I really liked is that the place is so untouristed that in some places that you go, the decoration is strictly to try to make some profit from visitors, but that was not the case in Tari. That's just the way the people live, and it was just terrific to be there and take pictures.
So when we got to Papua New Guinea, we took a plane to Tari, which was at 7,000 feet. Then we took a plane to Karawari, which was at sea level, and there was no transportation there. There was only a boat going between the villages, and then we went to Mount Hagen. How would you compare and contrast, these different places?
Those people had no currency as we've known it. Up until very recently, their only currency has been cowrie shells. And they built their houses from sago palm leaves next to the river. They clothed themselves from the grasses and eat the sago palm and the few vegetables they're able to grow, and for protein they may get fish from the river, and occasionally with their spears and bow and arrow kill a cassowary or wild pig in the jungle. It's pretty much as remote as you can get, whereas Mount Hagen and Tari, the climate was more receptive and the land was more arable to producing their own foods domestically to some degree, rather than subsisting as hunters and gatherers like in Tari.
Well, in Karawari, I can tell you that one of the cool things that we did was when we were in the boat and we would see these women in their canoes, they would fish and they would cook their fish right in the canoe, eat it so they get their own nutrition, and then they take the rest of the fish back to the family so that they could have one of their 2 meals a day.
Yeah. Women are always the workers of the world, no matter where you go.
We were in Mount Hagen, and one of the days we went on a hike up about 1.5 miles up a small mountain, and we're stopped with our guide Raymond, and we found out that Raymond was not very advanced in the sexual department, and we had to do a little education with him. Would you go into that?
Well, Raymond actually, his English was pretty good, and what happened was after we climbed the mountain, we went into a bird blind, and the three of us sat there, Mark and I and Raymond, trying to see the birds of paradise that Papua New Guinea is famous for, particularly the proverbial bluebird of paradise. And as we sat there for a long time and tried to be quiet, we started talking, and we asked him some questions about the politics in New Guinea. And he reciprocated by telling us that they really liked Bill Clinton, and asked us why Bill Clinton became in disfavor. And at that point we had to, tell him about the scandalous behavior that took place, and the fellatio. And as he listened, Mark expounded and explained to him about cunnilingus also, and gave him the medical description. And this really astounded Raymond. He said that this was a practice that they were completely unfamiliar with. And later on, when we got back to the lodge where we were staying, in which Mark and I were the only guests, like everywhere else, the manager and his wife were there, along with the woman who cleaned and was serving us the food. And Raymond came in, and we had a bottle of white wine which we opened, and we took 6 glasses out, and Mark raised his hand for a toast, and Raymond, the guide, held up his glass of wine and shouted very loudly, "Cunnilingus!" And Mark and I said, "Raymond, you can't say that." And he said, "Nobody will know what it means."
Cliff, tell me the story of the Mudmen in Mount Hagen.
The Mowgli Mudmen. These were an extremely colorful tribe, and they wore these huge mud masks that they put over their face, which they thought would scare their enemies. They would appear to be demons, and they covered their entire bodies, head to toe, in mud, and then had the masks over their head and their face. And I took a picture of one of them, and with my phone, and I sent it to my wife Bobby, and through Raymond, our guide, who spoke many languages, the chief of the Mudmen asked him what I was doing, and I had him tell them that I was taking a picture and sending it to my wife in America, and they wanted to know how I was doing that, and that forced me to explain to them that there were satellites orbiting the planet, and I pointed up in the sky, and I said the picture is going to bounce off one of those and go to the other side of the world, and they found that to be hysterical, because they had no sense of belief of anything I was talking about. When that completely discredited me when I told them about the satellites around the planet.